What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Shredlord.
And we have an album review for you. So, one that came out that I definitely wanted to go over for the week of the 20th of August was the newest album from Wolves in the Throne Room, Primordial Arcana. This again comes out on the 20th of August on Relapse Records. This is the band's 7th full length. They formed in 2002 in Olympia, Washington, and this is an interesting one because it's centered around two brothers, Nathan and Aaron Weaver. They are the only founding members that are still in the band, and pretty much all the music kind of just goes through them. They've had different studio musicians in there. They usually have one other guitarist that's always been a part of them. And in this album, it is Cody Keyworth. And this album is interesting because as I was reading up, this was kind of a self-contained one. They did pretty much everything in-house. All three of them, the Weavers and Cody Keyworth, all did the mixing and mastering on this. They had a couple of guest musicians, but for the most part, this is just all three of them crafting, well, kind of beyond what I expected on this one. Now, to be honest, I wasn't always a fan of this band. In fact, I still don't really care for their earlier stuff. I know it definitely has its fans, but it was very atmospheric, but it was very drony. Then Thrice Woven came out and really changed my opinion of this band when they showed off more dynamics and their really cool blend of atmosphere and black metal. They are great at that, and I think they may have gotten better. This album is drenched in all things dreary, somber, and wintry, despite coming out in August. Right from the opening track, Mountain Magic, this already has like kind of a cool feel. These guys know how to use atmosphere in different ways, and it usually comes in the beginning and usually all throughout the song too. But in the beginning, they always kind of set the mood somehow, and this sets the mood with something I thought was really subtle but really cool. A record sort of playing, like there's like a scratch, and then you hear like kind of like a wind in the background, and then boom, you are launched headfirst into some really cool, dreary black metal.
This album on a whole is basically a love letter to the cold. It is dark, moody, and pissed off at times, and rightfully so, because damn it, it sounds like they are marching to their deaths.
Yes.
And very quickly.
It depends, like the pace will change. This is really good about dynamics, which was something I thought that was absent in their earlier stuff. They know how to like switch up the moods, build it, make it, more intense, and then slow it back down. And the layering on this album is insane. Now, we sort of disagree a little bit on the production, but I think for what they were going for, they did a really good job. This has so many layers to it. The guitars are particularly very dissonant and ugly, but somehow beautiful too. The bass brings in such a thunderous low end on here. The drums are actually pretty up in the mix, which is something I'd like to hear more in black metal, because sometimes the drums kind of get lost in blasts. And then on top of that, you have atmospheric soundscapes, washes of different styles of synths. It's really just a very dense album in terms of like just sound in general.
I will say that everything is very lush, but my complaint is, especially earlier in the album, it seemed to make itself known more so. When there's so many things going on at once and everything is so lush, there's only so much room, so it kind of sounds a little mushy at times. But who gives a shit? That's such a minor detail, considering this album on a whole, once again, is just really, really, really good. And for an album that's, 45 minutes long with only, 7, 8 tracks, maybe?
7 tracks, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't get boring.
No.
And you would think it does, or you would think it would, because there's really only a couple things that they're doing here. But they're using a lot of different ways and variations of that same thing to keep it interesting.
It's kind of in how they arrange it.
Spirit of Lightning and Mountain Magic, they kind of give you this black metal feel. Once again, I felt like this is where the production really felt like a little mushy, and it gets better. But then Through Eternal Fields, when that comes, the album starts to take this like upward trend. It was already good, but Through Eternal Fields starts the trend upward in what continues on for the next, actually probably throughout the rest of the album. It doesn't take much of a dive as far as interest and dynamics. Like there's no real filler on this album.
No,
really.
Like they didn't waste any time with interludes. All the atmosphere is pretty much contained within the actual songs. That is something I'd like to see more of. Through the Eternal Fields and the track after that, Primal Chasm, Gift of Fire, those songs work so well together. Through Eternal Fields is essentially a long winter's march, and it's nothing but open wasteland in the snow. Like that's the whole feel of the song. It gets really grand and cinematic too. Like there are sections on there where it's like, did they get Ridley Scott in here to get someone to compose something for them? It's like, no, that needs to be epic. Bring in some war horns. And there are war horns. But then when you get to Primal Chasm, it shifts from this long, arduous march in the cold, and it's just littered with bodies, but it shifts to like a downhill charge because they see the end in sight, the fort they're gonna raid or whatever, and they're like, well, fuck it, this is the big charge.
It's go time.
We're just charging in there, we're breaking down the gates and murdering the fuck out of everyone in there.
Pump back the melodic a little bit and really step on the hefty.
This brings in stuff that I love about Immortal. Immortal knows how to do the battle charge, the cry into the wintry what the fuck ever they're talking about, let's go. That captures that feel very specifically. And then you throw on the vocal performance on here, which is really good. This guy has such a dry, nasty scream. It sounds like they made him jog laps outside in January while smoking a pack of Cools. Like, it's raspy as hell, but
here's
effective.
Here's how dated I am. It sounds like he is sitting in a giant sauna room with a big man that says, "Breathe, my pasty friend, breathe." And then you go down the row of a pack of Halls, and it's a Halls commercial. For those of you that remember.
I remember those commercials.
Hell yeah.
He needed a
Breathe,
couple.
my pasty friend, breathe. Ha, ha, ha.
But vocally, they do a lot of other cool stuff. Like there's low death growls on here too, and then you even get some like chants, I guess. Like the opening to Through Eternal Fields kind of starts with, I mean, Celtic chants.
Celtic The Wall, almost.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like The Wall. I was waiting for Roger Waters to start saying things like, taking little stabs at lyrics here and there. It was really interesting.
There was actually some moments in here that I did write down Pink Floyd, Underworld Aurora, the next track in there. And this isn't intentionally going track by track, but this album really opened up towards the back end and it kept getting better. But the whole switch between the dynamics in terms of like these moody, almost kind of like gothic industrial sections to straight up anthemic black metal. The more industrial, like lush sections that were kind of led by cleaner guitars and synths, it kind of gave me like a later Pink Floyd vibe.
Yeah. And just when you think this album can't get any better, we get to the end, and to me, probably the highlight, which is hard to say because this album is filled with a lot of good highlights, Masters of Rain and Storm.
Oh,
what a gem of a song. It starts off back to the aggression, however, the melody and the epicness never leaves. But that heaviness, it just adds to the epicness. Having that heft there really drives the epicness home.
yeah, and honestly, it's a different kind of heaviness. That was the thing. Like you get some cymbal grabs. These are big riffy
There's
moments.
an acoustic section in here.
And it leads into this giant closing section. This is 11 minutes of black metal glory.
It's great.
The atmosphere is great. The synths that wash over it really reminded me of bands like Windeer from the past. There's so much going on, and there's a lot of cool dynamics that just stand out flat out. Like there are big chuggy riffy moments, which honestly that isn't a big thing on this album, but where they threw it in, how they threw it in, and just kind of ramping up the energy, beautifully done. An 11-minute song can get boring. I listened to them before. There's 11-minute songs out there that I can't stand. This was an 11 minutes of just adventurous songwriting. And again, not a tremendous amount of like different things they're bringing in terms of their wheelhouse. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been present all throughout their career, but it's how they arrange it. And then you couple that with a cool atmosphere that's behind it. Like you're really kind of drawn in. This feels like an epic. Like there's a cool narrative to it. Amazing song. And it's hard to believe because at that point it was like, dude, this whole album is amazing. I don't know how they're going to top that. And then they throw out an 11-minute epic and yeah, you win. That's an exclamation point. I mean, granted, there is one other track in there, but it's kind of a synthy, outro, but it's really nice. And honestly, I kind of didn't mind the 3 minutes of calm after the 11 minutes of fury.
Yeah,
that was,
and it went kind of by quick.
Yeah.
Once again, it was more atmospheric than it was a song, but yeah, it was almost like when you're sampling stuff. That was the chaser. We've got to cleanse our palate now because it was so much aggression and sadness. We need to clean the palate with a little piece.
And it's really cool. They don't like overdo sections. Like you don't get like super drawn out sections of blast beats or them just kind of droning on one riff. There's so much going on in terms of like layers and such. There's a lot of room to mess that up, and they didn't at all. This album brings in so much in terms of just memorable sections, not just in like riffy hooks, but again, the atmosphere, how it's employed. You get a lot of cool nature themes, howling wolves, crows, running water. They really know how to employ this whole nature thing. And when they decide to slow it down, it can take on a really cool, like, doomy atmosphere or, like, post-metal stuff like Cult of Luna. This is, I guess the word is almost majestic. It is kind of a majestic album.
I would say majestic is perfect.
And I am kind of blown away. Like, I thought Thrice Woven was marvelous. Like, they did a great job in terms of, like, changing around their sound but retaining pretty much like the hallmarks of what they did, but showing real growth. This grows even further. I think might be my favorite album by them now. I'm going to go ahead and give this 4.5 stars. I really have very little complaints other than I think this is backloaded. The first 2 tracks, while really good, did not allude to how epic this was going to get. But outside of that, that's really not a complaint because I still liked every single track on here, and all of them are well written, epic as hell. And I mean, if you're looking for just some very forward-thinking, awesome, well-done black metal, then you need to go get this. And I'm super glad I did. I might have to get a shirt. Might have to see them live again. I've seen them live twice, and they absolutely kill live. This is one hell of an album, and I was not expecting it to be as awesome as it was. So go get this. It's badass.
So I've occasionally heard some of their songs in the past, and nothing really grabbed me too much, but this is a complete 180, man. This album, pretty much from start to back, is solid. This is a black metal gem. There's been a lot of good black metal so far this year, and this continues on the trend. It is moody, it is heavy, it is sad, it is atmospheric, it is everything you want out of an atmospheric black metal album, and done really well, and epic part after epic part after epic part, and little surprises here and there. Great album. 4 out of 5 for me all day long. This is definitely worth a listen. So, if you like what you saw here, please hit the like and subscribe button. It will notify you of when we do new videos, which we pretty much do this all the time. Also, we are now on Patreon. If you would like to help us goofballs, there will be a link down below. And also, we are currently in the woodshed, adding more and more plans for content for Patreon, as well as some unique things to add to the channel. Also, if you would like a Thralls of Metal t-shirt, please send an email to thrallsofmetal@gmail.com in large cap shirts, and we will send you an invoice.
And we have a giveaway going on. Once we hit 7,500 subs, we're going to give away this awesome 8-stack of CDs, including the new Cannibal Corpse with the uncensored artwork.
So sexy.
Thank you guys for getting us this far right now, and we're looking forward to giving away this deck because, again, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and it's another way we can thank you guys for supporting us along the way. This has been a fun ride, and honestly, it keeps getting to be more fun along the way.
I wish you would have said funner.
Nope, I'm not going to fuck that up.
Oh.
So all you have to do to get in on this giveaway is comment on our giveaway video, which will be linked down below, and it's also playing automatically on our channel. Once we hit 7,500 subs, we'll do a video announcing the winner and promptly probably thanking all of you once again because you're all pretty damn amazing. So with that, we thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you later.